going inside to have a nice sit down and a big mug of hot tea. The trouble with growing your own vegetables is you have to pick them. Hello, dog. You look a bit sad. What's the matter then? Oh, I see. Oh, dear. He says he's buried a fat, juicy bone in the garden. He can't remember where he buried it. Never you mind. Perhaps the cat saw where you buried it. Where is she? Let's find her then. Puss, 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 where are you? I know, under the table. She likes going under there. No, she's not there. On top of the dresser? Like sitting up there? No. Drat that cat, you can never find her when you want her. Behind the curtain? No. What are you trying to tell me? Oh, I see. There's a little robin lives in my garden, and he says that the cat's chasing the robin again. Well, you go and get her. Go on, off you go. Off into the garden. Go on. That's the way. And tell her I've got her favourite supper for her. And if she doesn't come, I'll give it to the mouse. To be honest, sometimes I think it's the robin redbreast that chases the cat. He's a really cheeky little bird. Strange thing is, my cat never chases my mouse. Funny that, isn't it? He's a funny little fellow, aren't you? Look, see his tiny little paws and his little twitchy nose. Oh, he'll nibble a bit of cheese if he finds one, but do you know what my mouse likes the best to eat? Turnip. Oh, yes, he does. There we are. Well, you see, all my animals like turnip. My mouse likes turnip, my cat likes turnip, and my dog likes turnip too. Oh, yes, I thought you'd be back when you heard what was for supper. Of course, it's not surprising that my animals like turnip. All my family likes turnip. I like a nice bowl of turnip soup. And my little grandchildren, that's them over there. Well, it's turnip jam they like best. And as for my old man, well, I think he'd live on turnip if he could. You know, every night he comes through that door, sits down at this table, pulls off his boots, and what does he say? I'll tell you what he says. He says, I want some turnip for dinner, he says. Just like that. I want some turnip for dinner. Wouldn't hurt him to say please, would it? Oh, but he does love his turnip. See here, turnip jam, turnip pickle. We've even got turnip wine on tap. Come to think of it though, it was tea we were drinking that day when he said, I want turnip for supper. And it turned out to be an enormous turnip. I laugh when I think of it still. Listen, and I'll tell you the story. Once upon a time, in the spring, an old man sowed some rows of turnip seeds in his garden. First, he dug with his spade deep down in the ground. Then he raked the earth until it crumbled softly in his fingers. He opened the packet of turnip seeds and made holes in the ground with his walking stick. And that's the robin I told you about. He was out there looking for worms. Then, taking the seeds one by one in his fingers, he dropped them into the ground. As he planted one little seed, he said, Grow, grow, little turnip, grow sweet. Grow, grow, little turnip, grow strong. Then he filled up the holes with soft brown earth, watered the ground with his watering can, and stuck the seed packet on a twig to remind him where he planted the seeds. As time went by, the rain fell on the seeds, and the sun shone down on them, and the turnips began to grow. Every day the turnips grew a little bigger. Then one of them began to grow much faster than all the others. The old man leaned on his walking stick and whispered to the biggest plant, Grow, grow, little turnip, grow sweet. Grow, grow, little turnip, grow strong. It grew large then very large, then huge, until at last it was enormous. No one had ever seen such an enormous turnip. One day the old man said to his wife, "I fancy a plate full of turnip for dinner." So, without even stopping to finish his tea, he put on his overcoat, tugged on his big boots, and went out into the garden. He gathered up the leaves of the enormous turnip in his two hands, and he pulled and pulled with all his might, but he could not pull up the enormous turnip. So the old man called his wife. "Come and help me to pull up this enormous turnip." His wife was hanging up the washing, but she came the moment he called. The old woman put her arms around her husband's waist. Then the old woman pulled the old man, and the old man pulled the turnip. They pulled and pulled with all their might, but they could not pull up the enormous turnip. So the old woman called to her grandson, "Come and help us to pull up this enormous turnip." Her grandson was playing with his bow and arrow, but he came the moment she called. The little boy took hold of the woman's apron. Then the little boy pulled the old woman, and the old woman pulled the old man, and the old man pulled the turnip. They pulled and pulled with all their might, but they could not pull up the enormous turnip. So the little boy called to his sister, "Come and help us to pull up this enormous turnip." His sister was sitting on a swing, but she came the moment he called. The little girl took hold of the little boy's jacket. Then the little girl pulled the little boy, and the little boy pulled the old woman, and the old woman pulled the old man, and the old man pulled the turnip. They pulled and pulled with all their might, but they could not pull up the enormous turnip. So the little girl called to the dog, "Come and help us to pull up this enormous turnip." The dog had been chewing a bone, but he came the moment she called. The dog took hold of the little girl's skirt. Then the dog pulled the little girl, and the little girl pulled the little boy, and the little boy pulled the old woman, and the old woman pulled the old man, and the old man pulled the turnip. They pulled and pulled with all their might, but they could not pull up the enormous turnip. So the dog called the cat, "Come and help pull up this enormous turnip." The cat was chasing after a bird, but on this occasion, to all our surprise, she came the moment she was called. The cat took hold of the dog's tail. Then the cat pulled the dog, and the dog pulled the little girl, and the little girl pulled the little boy, and the little boy pulled the old woman, and the old woman pulled the old man, and the old man pulled the turnip. They pulled and pulled with all their might, but they could not pull up the enormous turnip. So the cat called to the tiny mouse, "Come and help us pull up this enormous turnip." The mouse was nibbling a piece of cheese, but he came the moment she called. The tiny mouse took hold of the cat's tail. Then the tiny mouse pulled the cat, and the cat pulled the dog, and the dog pulled the little girl, and the little girl pulled the little boy, and the little boy pulled the old woman, and the old woman pulled the old man, and the old man pulled the turnip. They pulled and pulled with all their might, and this time they did pull up the enormous turnip. It came up with such a jerk that they fell down on top of each other. But they soon all jumped up and helped to carry home the enormous turnip. They cut the turnip up and cooked it, and they all had turnip for dinner. They ate until they were full, and there was plenty left to eat the next day, and the day after that. Of course, my animals aren't like ordinary animals. Most animals don't like eating turnips, but they do eat all sorts of other things. eat turnips like this in winter time, but most animals eat all sorts of other things. My husband's grown plenty of turnips since then. All different kinds they are, but never one so enormous. In fact, most turnips are quite small. Look here. This one's still got the leaves on. You see? When the turnip's growing, the earth comes up to here. And all you can see on the top are the green leaves. You can eat them too, by the way. The turnip itself is a kind of root. But when you buy it in the shops, the leaves and all the little roots have been cut off. Have you ever thought how many different parts of plants we eat? Leaves, stalks, fruit, nuts, seeds, flowers even, and all kinds of bulbs and roots.
Plant your cabbages, cabbages, cabbages. Do you plant your cabbages in the right way, if you please? You can plant them with your hand, with your hand, with your hand. You can plant them with your hand in the right way, if you please. You can plant them with your fork, with your fork, with your fork. You can plant them with your fork in the right way, if you please. You can plant them with your spade, with your spade, with your spade. You can plant them with your spade in the right way, if you please. You can plant them with your foot, with your foot, with your foot. You can plant them with your foot in the right way, if you please. Plant them with your knee, with your knee, with your knee. You can plant them with your knee in the right way, if you please. You can plant them with your elbow, with your elbow, with your elbow. You can plant them with your elbow in the right way, if you please. You can plant them with your head, with your head, with your head. You can plant them with your head in the right way, if you please.
These children are growing some cress seeds at school. They use empty eggshells as plant pots. They fill the eggshells with cotton wool and then they wet it. And now they sprinkle the cress seeds on top of it. Here are some that my grandchildren have made for me. They've drawn faces on them. Did you ever see the like? Look, this one's me. And here's my dog, and my cat, and my mouse. There, see? And that's supposed to be my husband. Doesn't look quite right, though, does he? I wonder why. Oh, of course. My husband's not got much hair up top, has he? Oh, here. A little bald patch for my cross patch. Now that's more like him.
I want some turnip for my dinner.
Then you'd better learn some manners, old man.
I want some turnip for my dinner, please, my dear.
Well, I never did. Now, if my old man spoke to me like that, it would be a surprise. He's the one to have a surprise tonight, though. It's his birthday today. So I've made him a special turnip stew for his supper. Oh, hello. How are you today, then? This is Emma and Adam. They've come to help wrap up my husband's birthday present. I'm giving him some more turnip seeds. You see, he's planted all the seeds he's got, and you have to plant turnips a few seeds at a time because you don't want them ready all at once, do you? Isn't it amazing to think what can grow from those tiny little seeds? Do you know, even the enormous turnip grew from something as small as that. I wonder, do you think if I read this book to you, do you think you could read it to my husband when he comes home? Yes. All by yourselves?
Yes.
Oh, that would be such a treat. Come and sit down then. He was ever so proud, you know, of growing the enormous turnip. This old man has some
turnip seeds.
Turnip seeds, that's right. Can you see the packet of seeds?
Turnip.
Yes, he's holding them in his hand, isn't he? And where's the spade?
Over there.
That's right, there's a spade and he's dug it deep in the earth, so it's standing up all by itself, isn't it? And what's he got in his hand there?
Rake.
A rake, that's right. What do they use a rake for?
To sweep the stones and weeds away.
That's right, we don't want stones and weeds for turnips to grow, do we? And then he makes nice long lines to put the seeds in, doesn't he? There's some cheeky little thing there in the field. Who is it?
A robin.
It's a little robin. He's always there, isn't he? And now the old man plants the seeds, doesn't he? He puts them into the ground there, and the robin's still watching, you see? And then he waters the seeds. Now, why does he use a watering can instead of a bucket, do you think?
So it doesn't flood the seeds.
That's right. If he flooded the seeds, they'd all go all over the place, wouldn't they? Wouldn't grow properly. Oh, I think he's watering his boot as well, look. I hope he's mended his watering can by now. Ah, now then, my old man's having a good rest now, sitting on the log. There's someone else sitting on the log too. Can you see? The robin, that's right. Oh, and there's my granddaughter's swing, you see?
Yeah.
And there's someone else there who likes eating turnips. Can you see who it is?
The rabbit.
The rabbit, that's right. Hidden in the grass there by the fence, isn't it? Oh, and that's a pump there. Do you know, in our cottage, we don't have water coming out of a tap like you do. No, we have to pump it out of the ground with that pump there. The turnip seeds grow. One turnip grows and grows and grows. It is enormous. Do you want to know how enormous that was?
Yes, please.
Well, you wait there and I'll show you. Now then, you see, this is an ordinary sized turnip. This is a bigger turnip. And this is an even bigger turnip. But the turnip in our story is the biggest turnip I've ever seen. It was enormous. The old man says,
I want some turnip for dinner.
he goes to pull up the enormous turnip. Can you see it? Where is it?
There.
Oh, it looks like a tree now, doesn't it? Oh, what is he doing? He's putting on his boots. And can you see what's there?
No.
It's a little mouse watching everything, isn't it? He pulls and pulls, but he can't pull up the enormous turnip. And look, that's me. I was hanging up my washing that day, and I just finished, and I was going to pick some apples from the apple tree when the old man calls to the old woman. "Come and help me to pull up this enormous turnip," he says. So he put his boot against the turnip, and I put my arms round his waist, and I did my best. The old woman pulls the old man, and the old man pulls the turnip. They pull and pull, but they can't pull up the enormous turnip. And here's my little grandson. Would you look at the grin on his face? What's he been up to with that bow and arrow of his, I wonder? And there's me calling him. The old woman calls to the boy. "Come and help us to pull up this enormous turnip," she says. The boy pulls the old woman, and the old woman pulls the old man, and the old man pulls the turnip. They pull and pull, but they can't pull up the enormous turnip. Oh, and now it's my little granddaughter. She's his sister, see? The boy calls to a girl, "Come and help us to pull up this enormous turnip," he says. And they have a real tug of war. The girl pulls the boy, and the boy pulls the old woman, and the old woman pulls the old man, and the old man pulls the turnip. They pull and pull, but they can't pull up the enormous turnip. The girl calls to a dog. "Come and help us to pull up this enormous turnip," she says. Oh, look at him. He knows that word turnip all right, doesn't he? The dog pulls the girl, and the girl pulls the boy, and the boy pulls the old woman, and the old woman pulls the old man, and the old man pulls the turnip. They pull and pull, but they can't pull up the enormous turnip. Oh, that old cat. She was after the robin again, wasn't she? But then the dog calls to a cat. "Come and help us to pull up this enormous turnip," he says. The cat pulls the dog pulls the girl, and the girl pulls the boy, and the boy pulls the old woman, and the old woman pulls the old man, and the old man pulls the turnip. They pull and pull, but they can't pull up the enormous turnip. Oh, Mr. Mouse's hole. So that's where my needle and button went. And my cheese. Oh, that old mouse. Still, I can't be too cross with him, you know. And if you don't know, you'll soon find out. You see what happens next. The cat calls to a mouse. "Come and help us to pull up this enormous turnip," she says. Now let's see how quickly we can do this, right? Ready, steady, go. The mouse pulls the cat, and the cat pulls the dog, and the dog pulls the girl, and the girl pulls the boy, and the boy pulls the old woman, and the old woman pulls the old man, and the old man pulls the turnip. They pull, and pop! Up comes the enormous turnip. And down go all of us. They all help to carry the turnip home. And they all have turnip for dinner. There's the old man licking his lips, isn't he? And who's that?
The old woman. The
Dog.
The cat. The boy. The girl.
And who's that little one in the middle?
The mouse.
Yes, the little mouse enjoying his dinner. Well, it just goes to show, doesn't it, what a little bit of teamwork can do. These children are working as a team, preparing for a party. Some are making sandwiches, some are printing a tablecloth with turnip and potato pieces, and some are making masks. And a bit of teamwork is needed if we're going to get this birthday parcel done. My husband will be home soon. I know, just for a joke. Shall we wrap this little turnip seed packet and a turnip and make it into an enormous birthday parcel for him? Shall we? Well, quick now. Ready, steady, go! Oh, that's good. Quick as you can now. You'll be home any minute now. Yes, it needs to have a lot more, yes. It's still quite small, isn't it? Oh, a nice purple and gold one there. And green, just like the turnip. That's it, it's getting a bit bigger now, isn't it? Yes, he's growing now, the turnip is. Blue paper now. Oh, quick now, he'll be wanting his tea. I've done all the turnip jelly ready for the party. He'll love it, won't he? Do you like turnip jelly? Yes, it'll be lovely, scrumptious. And turnip cake, okay, too. Now it's an enormous parcel. The biggest parcel I've ever seen. Won't he laugh when he finds out that inside this enormous parcel is a little tiny packet of seeds and a turnip? Goodbye.
A turnip, the most enormous turnip. A turnip, the largest ever seen. A turnip, a most delicious turnip. A turnip, the biggest there has been. Not a carrot, not a bean. Could be purple, could be green. A turnip, a chewy, tasty turnip. A turnip, hip, 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 hooray. A turnip, the most enormous turnip. A turnip, we pulled it out today.